This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Batman Universe Comics Podcast, Season 14, Episode 14, the incorrectly designated Golden Episode by me. I'm your host Ian, and I have with me...
This is Deb.
And this is Theo.
Today we have our updates on the news that was released at San Diego Comic-Con this year. Quite a few of titles and updates. And then, of course, we're going to review the first issue of Rom V's new Detective Comics run. So a lot to discuss there. Plus, we've got some listener feedback, and so let's get to it. First off, the news. San Diego Comic-Con ran over this past weekend, and there was a bunch of Batman stuff. Not the thing that I was expecting. I am fully expecting that Chip Zdarsky will announce that he's doing Batman Failsafe War. Some kind of crossover. I've heard rumblings that he's going to do crossover with Detective and Catwoman. I think that's going to happen after the first arc. And since he started in July, that means probably somewhere around January. I think that would line up with a New York City Comic Con announcement. So I guess it's a little early to be announcing something for January, although they have done that before. But plenty to talk about that was actually announced instead of my speculation. So first thing, Gotham City Year One, a 6-issue miniseries by Tom King and artist Phil Hester. It's taking place something like 60 or 70 years before the events of Year One, and starring Slam Bradley, the classic detective character, and he's going to be investigating the kidnapping of Helen Wayne. And people have mentioned this is a connection to, like a parallel to the Lindbergh Baggy kidnapping, and Tom King mentioned that it's like Chinatown, which, just to let people sort of get prepared, because I'm certainly trying to prepare myself for this, means Helen Wayne is definitely dead. She is going to be super, super dead. She is not going to be alive. What do you think about Gotham City Year One?
Who's Helen Wayne?
She's like the great-great-great-grandaunt or something of Bruce Wayne.
Okay. Isn't Slam Bradley like a Catwoman contemporary? How is he in this one?
So Slam Bradley is supposed to be like old in Catwoman, and his son Slam Bradley Jr. is her contemporary.
Yes, but he's still... if his story is like 60 years ago, Slam would be like 2.
I just don't get it, folks. That I don't know. This is the problem with continuity.
Well, it's also the problem when Slam has been basically ignored for 15 years.
It's true.
When a character goes away for that long, their age and their whole history kind of gets unmoored because all the stories kind of get crumpled together in the ever-present sliding timescale. I am excited. I hope that Tom King is able to make me fall in love with the characters, but not hurt me too much with Helen Wayne dying. And I love Phil Hester's art. I love the way it looks. It's really just energetic and abstract. Not abstract, but a lot of good shapes to it.
Yeah.
Phil Hester is not enough to make me want to pick up another Tom King book right now.
That's okay.
I'm interested. It's interesting that he's choosing to do something that basically has no connection to Gotham other than it's Gotham long ago, and Slam Bradley is time warped for some reason. Maybe
and the
Slam
Waynes.
Bradley. Well, yeah. The Wayne ancestors, not the Waynes. But whatever.
At least it's not White Knight where it's the valleys.
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
It's such a dumb twist, guys. Like, I don't begrudge anyone who likes White Knight. I think it's fine, but that twist is just dumb.
Yeah, that if there's one thing about the universe that I don't like, is that it's that reveal. I was not crazy about that.
We got a bit more information about Riddler Year One, which is a prequel to the movie The Batman, written by Paul Dano, who played the Riddler. They have a new, not new, but like an established European artist doing his first American comics work. Looks very dark and, to use a buzzword, incel-y. I don't know. If you really, really liked the Riddler in The Batman, this is probably really awesome.
I really, really did not.
As Steph says, it's the Hushler.
The Hushler. Do I say that?
Was it you or was it? I thought it was you.
No, I didn't come up with that.
Someone said the Hushler. It is perfect.
Yes, yeah. Go ahead, Steph.
No, I was going to say that is the proper criteria for being excited about this book is liking Paul Dano's The Riddler, which... Meh.
Yeah. But, you know, like, it's good that he's interested in the character and willing to do that. I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, what did you think?
He's not into it.
I'm not interested.
So here, this will be interesting. Joker Season 2. They're not calling it Season 2, but branding it The Man Who Stopped Laughing. They're saying it's an ongoing, and as I predicted, it is written by Matthew Rosenberg. And this breaks my heart, because art is by Carmine Di Giandomenico.
Carmine Di Giandomenico.
It's going to look amazing. I'm not sad that he's doing a good book. I'm just sad because unless this is another secret James Gordon title, I am not going to be buying this. Backup art will be Franco Francavilla.
It probably will be an actual Joker book this time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
A violent, mind-bending new series.
What do you think, Theo?
I'm just counting down to the release date so I can hear Ian says how much he loves the title.
I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't.
Watch it be a Steph book.
Oh my gosh. That would be so horrible. Because I would buy every issue and all the variants. And I'd be like, oh yes, Joker's my favorite title again. And everyone's like, what is wrong with you?
It's good stuff.
All right. Speaking of something that I am almost 1,000,000% sure will not be a title that I enjoy no matter what, Punchline, The Gotham Gang is going to be... Game is going to be a 6-issue miniseries written by Teenie and Blake Howard. Blake is Teenie Howard's husband. Illustrated by Gleb Melnikov. They poached him from Robin. Not an ongoing. It is going to follow up from the events of the Joker backups. What do you guys think?
So, I've actually been kind of invested in that story. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying I need to find out what's going to happen. And when so many things are bad and nothing is good, and then it just ended, I was minorly upset. So I'm looking forward to the story ending. I am not in any way interested in supporting this financially.
Harper Row, Punchline, pass.
Yeah. That's how it should be, but unfortunately I got hooked just a little bit.
My biggest problem is that it's Teenie Howard. I'm just so sick of her writing on Catwoman.
You've been sick of her since Excalibur.
That's true. I know she has fans. I know that a lot of people do enjoy her writing. And so, you know, she's really ticked me off with Catwoman. So, there is more Harley Quinn animated series comics. I don't have any comment on that, do you?
Nope.
Who? Wait, what?
There's a Harley Quinn, the animated series Legion of Bats.
Was that a question for me?
No.
Okay, just being sure.
The video game Gotham Knights is getting a tie-in miniseries called Gilded City, written by Evan Narcisse and drawn by artist called Abel. I've never heard of this. Evan Narcisse sounds super familiar, and I don't know why. But this is going to be a story of just before Batman quote-unquote dies. I firmly believe that Batman is not going to be dead in the Gotham Knights video game, but they're pretending he is.
I have very little interest in this. I own all of the Arkham games and have never even installed them. I don't know. I'm not. It takes a lot for me to sit down and play a video game.
That's terrible.
I have such a short attention span. I need to watch something while I play a video game. So all games I play are wordless, and then I can watch TV while I play video games. I have a problem.
We're gonna have to take your Bat fan card away. So I have zero interest in this only because I'm still PO'd over the fact that Gotham Knights is not going to be on the PS4. So I have zero interest in supporting this game /book /whatever in any way, shape, or form.
Until it comes out on PS4?
Well, it's not going to come out on PS4 because apparently they seem to think that the PS4 doesn't have the wherewithal to give us all the features to truly enjoy the game. Idiots. So no, I will not be reading this, and I won't be buying the game on PC because I am a PS4 player.
GCPD The Blue Wall, written by John Ridley, illustrated by Stefano Raffaele. It's going to focus on Renee Montoya as commissioner and her attempts to reform the police after Fear State and the Peacekeeper program. What do you guys think?
Do we like John Ridley? Remind me what he does. He's
I Am Batman.
I Am Gotham.
He's all the Jace Fox stuff.
Yeah. It's not terrible. Actually, the part I like most about his books are the cops, so he might do a pretty good job on these ones.
That's true. Chubb and Whitaker are the more interesting parts of the book.
They are the most interesting.
They are. They definitely are. And I am now, just to show how I've evolved, when Future State Batman first came out, I was interested from the fact that it was John Ridley, the Hollywood writer, director, done all this stuff. I was interested. Now I'm interested in this title simply because of Renee Montoya.
I would be, except the way he wrote her in the last issue of I Am Batman just made me so irritated. It was so badly done.
I don't remember that.
I'm not as sore about that. I think I read it through a different lens than you did, but.
I am still going to check out the next one because he promised me that Renee Montoya was going to be the Question in the next issue, and I'm very salty that he's making me read it. Because I do love Renee Question.
Did someone posted, I think to the sense of they asked Greg Rucka what his thoughts were, and he wasn't too pleased. Did anybody else see that?
Really? Yeah. I didn't. Is Rucka on Twitter again? I thought he got off.
I don't know if it was on Twitter or what have you, but whatever it was, and it may have been an old post that was asked after she was made commissioner or something like that. And they asked about his thoughts on her being back in Gotham and being commissioner compared to the Question. And you're going to make me look for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm technically in the Rucka server, but I haven't asked him, and he's been really disconnected from DC, so he probably is going to say, I don't know, it's not my game anymore.
I really wanted to join that Rucka server, but you got to go through hell and damnation just to get in, and I'm not putting my phone number. Sorry.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. You have to. There's a verification piece now where you have to. You talking about the Discord server?
Maybe I got in before they had that.
You must have. Yeah. The Discord server, you have to verify who you are, blah, 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 by using your phone number.
Weird. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited about the concept of GCP, the Blue Wall. Steph, you've given me some food for thought, so I'm not as mad as I was before, but I'm still not particularly happy.
Well, see, and I'm trying to remember what happened in that last issue that he wrote with her. Was that right before Chubb and Whitaker was transferred?
No. She shows up in the most recent issue of I Am Batman, and she's being interviewed for the New York City Police Commissioner job.
After she was just named Gotham City.
I know. Yeah. It's just, ugh. Okay. Now, Steph, you got to do this one.
Well, are you going to do Batman Inc.?
Batman Inc.'s after that, isn't it? Where did I put it?
I mean, maybe on your list, but I'm just going through the list here.
I'm doing it
anyway, so I will mention something that I'm looking forward to solely because of the cover art, because based on the description in the source, it's not mentioned at all, but Damian and Little John are on two of the covers, the main one and one of the variants, for the DC's Terror Through Time #1, which is written by a lot of people.
I've never heard of a lot of people. Who is that?
Sorry, there's a strange sound suddenly coming from my desk. Paul Levitz, Carla Pacheco, Jeremy Hahn, Tim Seeley, Zach Thompson, and others.
I wonder how they got Paul Levitz back at DC. Has he done anything since, at DC at least, since he left as president?
Not really. I mean, when did he leave? Because he did, writing for a good couple years into the New 52, but he hasn't really done anything since then.
Yeah, I think he was still president when the New 52 started, I think.
But yeah, I think it's been 10 years, maybe 8-9 years since he's done anything that I remember.
It's 80 pages, so I'm just left to assume that 79 pages of that is going to be Super Sons, then everyone else gets to share one page. That's how I assume that's going to go.
The delusions on this podcast are serious. I think we're going to need to get some, benzos or something.
Hey, that's not right, huh? Can't be right.
What?
Okay, no, he left DC. He left as president in 2009.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because that's about when Jim Lee and Dan DiDio were named co-publishers, I think.
Technically, he was still employed there, as a writer. Because
he wrote Huntress and then World's Finest for a bunch.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was still, 2012 when he left, or stopped writing those titles, I think. Batman Incorporated got a cover by John Timms. We knew this was coming in October, but we have an actual release date. It looks awesome. They got Night Runner on the cover, so I'm very excited about that. I don't know. I feel like we already sort of talked about this with the annual, so not anything really new. I just like the cover. You guys like the cover? No?
It's fine. It's fun. It's all the people. Hopefully they're actually in it, and not just as nameless, faceless, you from Japan, you from wherever.
I don't know. I thought the annual did a decent job of giving them more stuff to do.
No. The annual has made me hopeful that this will be a good book.
Yeah, based on what Williamson did, I would be super depressed. But based on what Brisson did in the annual, I'm like, oh yeah, this could be good.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have a new Batman and Scooby-Doo team up ongoing. Looks like an ongoing rather than a 12-issue miniseries. Again by Charlie Fish and Ivan Cohen, and Dario Brazula on art. So that'll be fun.
Scooby-Doo's not my favorite. Yay to you if you love Scooby-Doo. It's never been my favorite.
I mostly love that Charlie Fish just loves digging through Batman history. He did a Birds of Prey team up with Huntress, Black Canary, and Batgirl, and that was really fun. And then he also did a... the last issue of the most recent miniseries was every single Bat family member ever showed up, and it was really fun. So it's mostly because I think Charlie Fish does a great job of writing in actual Batman stuff, rather than any real interest in Scooby-Doo. All right, let's get to our review of Detective Comics 1062.
Detective Comics number 1062, Story 1, Gotham Nocturne Overture. Written by Ron V. with art by Raphael Albuquerque. An opera goes on at a Gotham theater. As attendees watch in astonishment and horror, one guest is apparently missing. Where is Bruce Wayne? He's at the East Side dockyard as Batman, watching over a smuggling ring. With the numbers, he feels he can take him down in 18 seconds. He springs into action, but unfortunately he misses his mark. He disposes of the smugglers in 22 seconds. Suddenly there's a mysterious sound. Batman turns and finds Bruno Moroni, Sal's nephew, approaching him, talking in an unknown language. Batman realizes something is wrong as Bruno changes into something far worse, a giant brute who has Batman in its sights. Batman does his best to take on the giant monster, but he can't get the upper hand. The monster goes in for a killing blow, but is shot in the head by an arrow and falls to the ground. Batman gives chase to his savior to find that it's none other than Talia al Ghul. He criticizes her for taking the life of another. She informs her beloved that what he faced was not human and was far from dead. Suddenly, the monster rises to the roof where Batman and Talia are speaking. As Talia turns to leave, she warns Batman that something is coming, and his old rules have him unprepared to tackle it. As she leaves, the monster falls and dissolves into ash. Back at the garage underneath his brownstone, Bruce is running a series of tests on himself. Everything appears normal, but he still feels like something is off. As he runs on a treadmill, Nightwing checks in on his mentor to find out about the night's event and why Bruce is running all these tests on himself. Something's off, Bruce tells Dick. The events of tonight proves it. He just needs to find out what's wrong and fix it. They discuss the antiques that the smugglers were trying to bring in, including a box that Bruce can't figure out. Elsewhere, Ozen meets with his mother, who has come to see him off on his trip to Gotham. Their legacy depends on his success, and despite his objections, she has assigned others to accompany him. She's also sent another, Gale, to Gotham before him to prepare for his arrival. Gale is speaking with the men who are at the dockyard about their failure to deliver on their end with the antiques they were smuggling. They attempt to explain how things work in Gotham, but Gale is hearing none of it. He kills the men. Outside, cloaked goons kill the other smugglers waiting outside. Gale tells them to leave no trace of their presence. Back at the garage, Bruce is dreaming. He's dreaming of the demon Barbados, who tells him to wake up and listen. As he wakes, Bruce realizes that the box he was observing is now playing music. It's a music box.
So, how do you react to this first issue? It was very difficult for me to figure out what this comic was going to be, because all the interviews and all the solicitations were like, it's an opera, it's like moody, it's all like what it's like. It's not telling me the story. So I didn't really know what to expect, other than I was excited because I really like Ram V's Catwoman. So how did you react to this first issue?
Well, I was confused, I guess. It's very noir and very dreamlike, very nightmare-like. I felt like it would have fit right in with Nightmares, or whatever that was called. It's very dark, ethereal. What's that called? I don't know. Flater mousy. It's interesting. It's very disjointed and confusing, though, because we're not supposed to know, right, who that dude is and what his deal with his weird mom is, right? We don't know. Is that
well, I
recurring
was
here?
wondering if it was that guy from Ram V's Catwoman run, Siddharth Roy, but no. These guys are named the Arzan family. So I don't know. So
it's interesting. It's kind of cool. Question mark that we're presented this beginning to a story and we don't know what's going on. So we'll probably be figuring it out along with Bruce. Also, what's wrong with him? Why he's having these weird nightmares and why he feels sick. Unless he's just getting old, like Dick said.
The highlight for me is that as I finished the issue, I realized it wasn't the opera because I was not excited about that. You know, I'm not a classical opera fan, so I wasn't truly excited for that concept. So other than those first few pages and the dialogue that we got near the end, I was okay with the story, even though I don't know where it's going, but that's only because it's part one and it's a new run, and I really hope within these next 3 issues that things get tied together. Because again, I there's a nice bit of action, but I don't know. I still don't know where this is going to lead us.
So I think the first thing I'll say is I did like it. It drew me in. I really liked the moodiness, and I like Ram V's voices for all the characters. I have no idea what's going on. Obviously, he's setting up these South Asian gangsters to come in. They probably have some kind of supernatural thing based on the way they dress and the way they talk, and the fact that one of them has like bright yellow eyes. But I have no clue. I don't know how Batman's going to fight them. I don't know how they turned that mobster into a giant monster. It's very mysterious, and I think that's appropriate for the first issue of a mystery. I just hope that it's, a well-plotted mystery. I think it probably will be. I'm just hard to see the forest for the trees right now.
All I gotta say is, for all you Bruce Talia fans out there, she's still around. Conspiracy still abound.
What do you think about Raphael Albuquerque's art this first issue?
So this is not my jam. And, but it's perfect for the setting. Like, I don't know if a different art style would have worked well with what I'm assuming is the type of story that he wants to tell. So it was great for what it was. It told the story it needed to tell. It is not my preference, but, whatever. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, like I put in my review, Raphael is not my favorite Batman artist. His style, kind of to go along with what Steph was saying, it seems to fit what Ram V is writing. And the story that I used as an example of where it also fits was his run on All-Star Batman with Scott Snyder. But it's not the best, only because I don't like his take on the characters. I mean, Talia looks almost mannish in that one panel.
She does have a lot of muscles.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but if it's the theme of the story.
So I actually really like Raphael Albuquerque. I kind of liked his older style. He did a Robin spoiler special back in 2008 that was very clean lined, but still had his really appealing, sort of unique way of drawing faces and stuff, and it was very dynamic. He's really evolved since then, especially when his work on American Vampire with Scott Snyder. That's a lot looser, a lot more expressionistic, and very, very horror inflected. The last DC work I remember with him was at the beginning of Rebirth. He did the first arc of Batgirl with Hope Larson and the last arc of All-Star Batman with Scott Snyder. I really didn't like his work on All-Star Batman. It was way too loose. It felt really, really sketchy. It didn't feel very controlled. His Batgirl was a little better, but it still felt... I think he was going for really exuberant, and I think that I kind of would have preferred a bit more restrained, because I like it when his pencils are a bit more restrained. This felt more restrained. It's still expressionistic. It's still got a lot of horror. I really liked it. I was expecting it to be looser, and so I think that the slightly tighter style of the pencils really worked for me. I really dug this art, and is part of why I would say I did like this story, even though I still have no idea what's going on. I felt the characters. I felt the mood. I really felt the mood of the story. And I felt, the horror of the villains and the monsters that Bruce is facing. I thought it looked really cool. Are there any connections with what Ram V's done for DC before that you'd like to see? I haven't read his Swamp Thing, but, his Catwoman was great. I'd love to see some connections with that. Similar to how I'd love to see, Zdarsky connecting to The Knight and the Cheers story that he did for Urban Legends. Anything you guys would like to see Ram V sort of bring in as a reference? Obviously not like a core story element, but like a reference that would make it all tie together.
I mean, yeah, the Red Hood story and the Catwoman run, sure. I don't know. I like it when the books interact, but it makes sense.
Yeah, see, nothing from his Catwoman run. And again, I'm like you, I haven't read his Swamp Thing, only because it wasn't Alec Holland. But I don't see how anything in this Catwoman run can fit in, at least in this arc. Now, what we see down the line, who knows?
I mean, he says he wants to be on the book for 2 to 3 years, so there should be some time for him to bring in stuff like, some of the strays and some of the police people he worked with in... Was he in the Narrows? What was the specific district? Alleytown, right? He was working...
Yeah.
So if, he has Batman visit Alleytown, I could see maybe some of those cops show up, and I think that'd be cool, Seems like this is going to be a very import-export type of crime story, and Alleytown was a part of Gotham, so could work. Let's move on to our backup.
Dakota, Part 1, written by Cy Spurrier with art by Donnie. Jim Gordon returns to the dilapidated site of the former Arkham Asylum. He's on the job. It's not the job that he wants, but considering everyone has been avoiding him since he's returned to Gotham, it was the best he could get. He needs to find someone. Jonas Redding, the son of Annie Redding, has gone missing, and she needs help. Jonas is troubled and hangs with the wrong people. His mother loves him and wants him back home. Her tips lead Jim Gordon to the old Arkham site. There, he finds several dead bodies, but he also hears someone else moving. He calls for the person to identify himself before he is swiftly struck. As he picks himself up, Jim calls out for Jonas. The person responds that Jonas isn't his name.
How do you feel this story connects with the characterization and storyline that Jim Gordon just went through for a year and a half under the writing of James Tynion IV in the Joker storyline?
Well, I think they basically say it, right? He's feeling useless now. He's feeling a little used, but no one wants him around anymore. I guess Joker was his last big hurrah, and now he has to face retirement, and he doesn't want to. So, I don't know if it's super connected, but I think emotionally it makes sense for him to branch out like this. I know that when I quit my engineering job, I had to figure out a new normal and a new way to live and new things to do every day. And
Did you disappear into the bottle, though?
I did. No lie. I disappeared into the couch for a good month. I would sleep and then wake up and take a nap. Like, that was my day until like 12, 1 o'clock. My body was just so happy not to be going to work anymore. I just had a total meltdown. And then my father-in-law called me and he retired and he was like, what do I do with my life now? I was like, well, you pick a new normal. And if you want to be a helpful, productive member of society, maybe alcoholism isn't the way to go. But I can understand how you'd want to escape when you have so much clout and power. Not necessarily that Jim cares about power, but he's powerless now to do what he wants to do, which is to help people. That I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's also a little sad. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of, what was that Russell Crowe movie about him going crazy, but he thinks he's solving like World War II codes. Anyway. Whatever.
Oh, A Beautiful Mind.
Beautiful Mind. I was like, Da Vinci Code? Is that? Wrong one. Yeah.
Totally different actor.
Totally different actor, totally different story.
Yeah. So I say this as the person of the trio who read the least amount of issues of the Joker. Man, but this seems like rock bottom. You know, it makes me wonder how much time has passed since the last issue of Joker and this story. But yeah, Jim just seems he's hit the floor and he can't fall anymore. And I mean, when your own daughter is saying, "Yeah, just enjoy retirement," just to avoid you, that kind of says a lot.
I, of course, read every single issue of Joker and then decided to read them all in one night because I loved it so much. And this feels like a slap in the face because Jim ends the Joker having not defeated the Joker, but he's defeated something. He's made the world a little bit better. He's fought evil, and like it's totally stolen from Silence of the Lambs. But he talks about how at the beginning of the book he can't sleep because he keeps hearing the Joker's laugh, and at the end he says, I don't hear the laugh anymore. You know, it's I don't hear the lamb screaming anymore. And this is just like, and then he just becomes a drunk and everyone rejects him. I'm like, that is so unsatisfying. And I understand you have to go somewhere to build a character. You have to start at the bottom to build up. But as someone who literally just finished Joker, this is not anything like what I wanted for Jim Gordon.
Yeah, and again, like I said, that's what makes me wonder how much time has passed between the end of Joker and the beginning of this. You know, what caused him to hit rock bottom?
Yeah, I mean, this could very well. I mean, Joker just ended, but like that book was delayed, so like James Tynion could have been thinking this is basically just after Fear State, which was a year ago almost. Well, okay, like 6 months ago, but still, it's like a good chunk of time.
Yeah, because, I mean, Ian may disagree, and he probably does since he already said it. I am interested in this story only because it seems like, again, that it's I've hit rock bottom, it's now to pick myself back up type of plot. And I'm hoping that between this issue and part 3, which is the last, that, you know, Jim has some type of redemption. But that's just me.
I just don't think he needed redemption where Tynion left him. Tynion didn't leave him in a bad place, so now he's in a terrible place.
But this isn't James Tynion, though. That's all I'm saying. It's not JT.
Yeah. I know there's a bunch of Cy Spurrier fans. Not a lot of them on our podcast or in our community, but I talked to a lot of them on the forums, and they're like, oh man, Cy Spurrier is the best. And I've read several of his things, and I just do not like them. So I will admit I was a bit biased against it, but... I'll say some good things. I do think that the way it builds to the last page is a nice, effective cliffhanger. And it does make me want to keep reading. I just was... The transition from the Joker to this backup was so shocking to me that I'm still really struggling. What do you guys think the art by Danny is like? We've had to cover Danny issues quite a bit in the last year. What do you think about it here again?
I mean, it's fine. Again, I wouldn't pick it.
Well, let me make it a little more specific. How do you like the Danny art compared to the Raphael art in the first part of the book?
Raphael connects his lines.
I see, that's one of those questions where, you know, you put the gun to the head and say, okay, which one?
Yes, that is exactly what I want you to say.
Okay, I like the Raphael art better.
Yes.
Oh yeah, easily.
Easily.
Yes.
Easily. I mean, again, Raphael Raphael is not a bad artist. He's just not my favorite Batman artist. And but this, oh god,
It's
I was
muddy.
having I was having David Lapham flashback. That
David laugh.
is I mean, it's just not good. Again, I know they're trying to get a style that fits with the theme of the story, but damn, it's. I mean, you can't even tell that that's Jim Gordon without the writing saying that's Jim Gordon. I mean, he looks overweight. His face looks bloated. It's just.
I mean, if you go on a 6-month bender, it's just gonna happen.
I mean, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Yeah, I didn't like the art very much, especially since I really did like the Raphael art. So, fortunately, we do know this is just a 3-parter, so 2 more months, and we'll see something new.
Which is weird considering Overture is 4 parts. You know, usually you would think they would end at the same time, but guess not.
Well, that leads to my next question. Do you think this backup will matter? Do you think this is going to set Jim up for a new story, or do you think this is just like a short backup day in the life of Jim?
I kind of hope it's setting him up for something, because the way it's sort of framed, it sounds like he's going to... Like, I can see the end of this being Jim Gordon opens a detective agency or something. I don't know.
Well, technically, he has a detective agency already with Harvey.
Oh, yeah. But here we are. Maybe they forgot. But, I don't know. He did go to Arkham and it's like, what is he? It's like, Arkham is as old as the city. Arkham is the city or something. I don't know what it was. But maybe Jim is crazy. Maybe it is Beautiful Mind and he's sitting in the padded room somewhere.
Padded room. I was trying hard not to laugh.
Do you think... So, we've had this conversation going since the backup started, back in the beginning of Infinite Frontier. I think it's pretty clear that this backup is not going to connect to the main story. Do you think it's reasonable to expect a different writer to coordinate with the main writer?
I mean, if you can expect crossovers, you can coordinate your backup writer for 3 issues. But that doesn't seem to be the route that DC has been going these last couple of years with the backups in both DC. I mean, well, I guess we had the get to know Ghostmaker, but that still had nothing to do with Batman, but it did introduce a character that they weren't taking the time to introduce well in the main comic, which was acceptable because that's another way to do it. But yeah, just having stories that have like similar vibes is just a little weird.
Yeah, I really love backups, but like as a concept. But when and we're going to talk a little bit about backups in Greater Gotham, but I have been known to buy books for the backups. Case in point, the Gotham Academy backups for Batman. I did not like the Williamson run, but I did love those Gotham Academy backups. In this case, I dislike this backup, so it's kind of like dragging the book down a bit for me, even though I am liking the main story.
And for me, you know, my biggest gripe with backups have been the fact that they have zero connection to the main story. And then we get Chip Zdarsky, and he does the backup, and it's tied to the main story, and I'm all giddy and happy again. And now I'm jealous of Scott because he gets to review 2 stories in one book that actually connect to one another, and I get David Lapham Jr. And I just don't I don't understand how a universe as big as it is can't tell stories that connect with one another. That's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I
If
tend
you
to
have these
agree.
stories that again, stories like this, backups like this, just further convince me that it's a money grab. I mean, just like we've had several backups that were reprints of other stories, just
that's just in Future State. And that's because Future State is trying to justify its cost and not being color and stuff. And they don't advertise the backups in Future State at all, which is bizarre. I don't understand Future State on so many levels.
You're not supposed to understand it. That's Steph's job.
Okay. Well, let's give Detective Comics 1062 a rating out of 5 arms sticking out of chests.
Okay. So since you bring that back up, I really hope we don't get too much Barbados. I hate that character. I hated it in Return to Bruce Wayne. I hated it doing Metal. I hate it. I just hate the character. So
what is it?
It's a demon that's sort of intertwined with the history of Gotham and connected to Bruce through the dark side thing that quote-unquote killed him in R.I.P. I hate Barbados in the Morrison run and in Snyder's Metal. I actually really like Barbados in Hawkman, but that's because it's basically a completely different character and is hilarious. But that's like a completely separate Barbados. So this is much more the Morrison Barbados, who's a demon, who's spiritual and connected to the curse of Gotham. And I'm not into it. But how many stars, how many arms sticking out of Batman's chest do we give this comic?
I give this 3 with potential to review it after the other issues come out and maybe give it more. But for our first issue, it could be good. It could go so wrong. But it's fine. It's good. It's fine.
I gave it a 3 on the site, and I am going to leave it at such.
I'm giving a 3.5 because, as I said, I really enjoyed the art a lot more than my co-hosts, and I think the fact that I had such a good time despite the fact that I don't know what's going on speaks to just how powerful the craft of Ram V's art is. So I think it's really good. Definitely held back by that backup, which is not working for me. I know a lot of people are enjoying it, but it's not working for me. So that gives us an overall score of 3.17 with a mode of 3. And the mode is all Steph and Theo's fault, so I can't be blamed.
You didn't have to mention it.
I did, though.
You really didn't. Just hush. And I don't mean the character.
Ah. Are you reading Hush or The Hushler? Let's get
for the record, one of y'all will have to read that book, because who's not reading it is this guy.
I mean, my policy is basically I try and read the first issue of most miniseries, and then if I like it, I keep going, and if I don't, I'm just like, well.
I am making that exception only for the Tim Drake book, only because you two told me I had to.
I didn't tell you had to.
Wait, why did I tell you had to?
Because it's the first issue.
Well, I think that we should generally, especially if it's like a main continuity book. I mean, the thing about Riddler Year One is that it's not at all in any main continuity. So
yeah,
exactly. But I have zero interest in what Fitzmartin has done with Tim, and I really don't want to follow.
I'm with you there.
I don't care that Noah gets kidnapped. I hope once he gets kidnapped, somebody throws him off of the Justice statues that.
Don't say that. He might end up as the new Oracle, and then what are we going to do?
And, whatever.
At least it'd be interesting. I like to
I trust Fitzmartin to make it less interesting.
I scan number 1s to at least see if there's something I'll maybe like in there. This is why I didn't read the mech book, and I didn't read something else.
Right.
DC Vampires? I don't know, whatever it was.
I don't read any DC versus Vampires, but I will buy the hell out of the variant covers.
Whether you are a first-time TBU Comics podcast listener, a 13-year veteran, or anything in between, we'd love to hear what you think about this episode or any of the comics we discussed. Send emails to tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net. Join our Discord server linked at thebatmanuniverse.net. Send us a tweet at TBU_comics. Or, if you're a patron, leave us a comment on our Patreon page. We'd also love it if you left us a review on iTunes. We'd love to read your comments on the next episode of the Batman Universe Comics Podcast. Batman may claim he works alone, but we know that he needs the Bat family. Join the TBU Bat family and let us know what you think.
All right, guys, let's move on to Greater Gotham. Batman the Night number 7. Batman and Zatanna.
Thumbs up. It was great. And Zatara was great. And the relationship was just flirting. And it's fine. It's great. It's wonderful. Thumbs up.
The fact that Steph is given because it's obvious that those two have a connection, and the fact that she's still giving it a thumbs up only makes it even greater. So,
well, I also liked that Bruce was like, also magic. I was like, yes, he hates magic.
The exploration of Bruce and magic in this book was perfect. Like, Zdarsky is just doing so good.
It was so good.
Oh my goodness. I have turned into a Zdarsky fanboy, and I feel bad, but like, I also don't feel bad because it's really good.
I mean, okay, so change the topic. So we discussed Batman last time, 125.
Yes.
But I didn't realize that first issue of his run on Batman actually came out the same day or the day before, or the same week as Daredevil number 1, the new volume. Right.
He wrote about that in his Substack.
Which was also good.
I haven't caught up with Daredevil. I kind of do like trade waiting for Daredevil. It's really good though.
So if you're going to do that, you need to make sure, and again, we interrupt our regularly scheduled TBU comic podcast to do Daredevil and Chip Zdarsky. So if you're going to do that, Ian, you're going to need to definitely do Devil's Reign.
Yeah, I read all of Devil's Reign. So I'm caught up to the end of Devil's Reign. I read the event, and I read the Woman Without Fear miniseries, and I read a couple other tie-in issues.
So if you've read Devil's Reign, you'll be okay with starting number 1.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably gonna wait till the first arc is complete and then read that and keep going like that.
Okay. Well, I won't spoil it for you.
No, don't do that. What? My virgin ears. All right.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled TBU comic podcast.
Nightwing number 94.
Well, no, did Theo rate?
I thought he gave it. Yeah, he gave thumbs up, and if you can't figure out that I gave it thumbs up, then you're dumb.
What was it?
Number 94.
Nightwing number 94. What did I say? Hold on, I wrote it all down. Thumbs up. Yeah. Wait, no. Thumbs up. Yeah.
The fact that it took you this long to say thumbs up disappoints me. I just want to say that.
Yeah, what is this, you self-proclaimed co-host of the Tom Taylor cast?
What was happening in this one again? Oh, right, the sister.
It was like the fake out where
Yeah. No, that was good. That was fun.
Blockbuster figures out that Sonia Zuko is the mole.
You spoiled it. Yeah, that's how it ends.
What do you guys? We're talking about it. This is not the spoiler-free podcast. This is the all spoilers, especially Stephanie Brown podcast.
I am still disappointed that the fact that it took her this long to say anything written by Tom Taylor.
Hey, no, we give Tom Taylor thumbs down.
We give him thumbs down on Son of Kal-El.
Yeah.
So, Theo, what did you? I mean, I don't need to ask, but let's ask because it's polite.
You don't need to ask. The entire story could have been terrible, but the one panel with Dick and Babs and Haley makes it all worth it.
So I am going to, in the interest of intellectual honesty, give this a thumbs up.
Oh my God! Wait, I gotta write this crap down. Hold on.
This was a well done issue. It was not preachy and obnoxious. It had good relationship moments. It had a well plotted arc. Unlike other issues, which I feel like I've been honest and given it a thumbs down, not just because I dislike Tom Taylor. This was a well done issue.
It's very good.
You make a note of this, right, Steph?
14 noted.
14, the golden issue.
The golden issue.
Yes, it is the golden episode.
The golden episode. Mark it down, y'all.
Batman Superman, World's Finest, number 5.
Am I the only one who read it?
I abstain.
I definitely abstain. See, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to read this because something tells me Mark Waid going to reel me in. And
thumbs up for me. I really liked it. And it actually had me on the edge of my seat because Superman gets like locked in this like never escapable cavern. And you're like, how is he going to get out? And Batman figures it out. And they save him. And it's so good. But Robin is lost. Oh, no. And then it ends with Damian Robin in the present Doing something. Trying to open the cave that they just sealed up. Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. I liked it. Thumbs up.
Catwoman number 45. Am I the only one who read this?
No, I read Catwoman.
Okay.
Neutral?
So...
The Bat Family stuff seemed really forced. Like, I was not a super fan of all of it, and I didn't quite understand how it all fit in.
So there's 3 different Bat Family interactions in this one. The Tim Drake interaction is a huge thumbs down for me because the way she treats Tim is just disrespectful. The way she treats Dick is somewhat disrespectful, but Dick leaves a really beautiful voicemail for Catwoman, and surprisingly, it was very sweet and thoughtful, and I really enjoyed that voicemail. The Batgirl stuff was, whether you like it or not, is very appropriate for what's going on in the Batgirl's title. So if you're not liking the Batgirl's title, you won't like this.
Okay, but tell me about this voicemail thing, because, again, not Catwoman.
So Selina and Dick meet while Selina's undercover at Penguin's Iceberg Lounge. And Selina sort of brushes him off, but he gives her a call, leaves her a voicemail about how he is sad that she didn't marry Bruce, and he thinks that they could still have a healthy relationship, but she is still his family. And it was just a very thoughtful look at Selina and Bruce's relationship. And I should also say that this issue reveals that Selina and Valmont have not slept together, and it's the other side of the thing we see in Batman 125, where it looks like Selina and Valmont slept together. I am 100% sure they are going to sleep together in 3 issues, because the solicit for the issue in October says that when your former lover meets your current lover. And I'm like, okay, well, that means they're having the sex.
I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy. That's going to happen. Bruce and Talia's going to do... I mean, they've already been kissing. It's just... Batcat fans, get used to it. It's coming, whether you want it or not.
All right, so this I'm going to give... I'm going to give it neutral.
Oh, God.
I still think it's very bad, but there were good elements, and so I feel like I have to bump it up a little bit.
I am so proud of you, Ian.
DC vs. Vampires All-Out War number 1.
Abstain.
I don't have a clue what that is. So
this is a tie-in to the DC vs. Vampires maxi series by Matt Rosenberg and James Tynion IV. The main story is kind of whatever. It doesn't really have anything to do with Batman, except Azrael shows up as a vampire and then he gets cured, and that's kind of cool, and then he blows up. But the backup is a short story by Guillaume Seglain, who did the Cassandra Cain Future State story, and this is a Stephanie Brown versus vampires backup in this universe, and it is awesome.
Does she survive?
She survives this issue. I don't think she's going to survive the whole run, but she survives this issue.
Yeah. While I say abstain, I will give it a neutral simply because I buy that title simply for the variant covers.
It does have pretty great variants.
Yes.
Harley Quinn number 17.
Oh, yeah, should we note that we're skipping One Dark Knight because none of us wanted to read it?
I mean, you can. I just wasn't going to mention it.
I don't want to read it. I'm just reading it in all 3 parts. I'm reading
that
it.
Probably will be better.
Yeah,
because it's only because others that I know have read it said it's better if read all at once.
Yeah. I ran out of time to sit down and do that, and I skimmed through it, and it's so dark. It's basically just reading speech bubbles on a black background.
So what you're saying is this is a book form of the Batman movie, which was a movie form of a podcast.
So I will try again later. We may come back to that. But Harley Quinn number 17, thumbs up. Mostly because the storyline is finally finished. But I very much enjoyed that story. I'm glad it's over, but it was good.
I ran out of time. I want to read this, but I did not have a chance. Batman Fortress number 3.
Skipped. Abstain.
Abstain.
Neutral.
Is the art good?
So I've said this a few times when talking about Fortress. I am a fan of Derek Robinson, but I have not been a fan of his Batman stuff. I don't know why.
It seems too much like The Boys, and I don't know. Maybe that's unfair.
I mean, I know, Bruce typically, is this square-jawed, buff guy, but if you look at Bruce sometimes, Yeah, I'm seeing the boys, and I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is Homelander was such a obvious caricature of Clark Kent, and Bruce and Clark often have like almost identical faces, so it's just really similar. And Homelander just did so many horrible things that it's hard not to see it. Task Force Z number 10, the All Bane All the Time issue.
Neutral. This series is just, I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Me neither. It was really confusing.
It's the Mr. Bloom show.
It was really confusing.
It was. I have no idea who wants what and who is doing. I'm so confused.
Yeah, this is a neutral for me too. And I've been liking this series, but like this one was like, I don't get it. Young Justice Targets number 1. This is the tie-in to the animated show.
Abstain, but I skimmed through it and it seemed speedy heavy and whatever.
I thought it was fun. I'll give it a thumbs up. Wayne Family Adventures. We had a couple of episodes of this released over the last couple weeks, including a really funny one where Bruce and Clark spy on Alfred and Clark's parents having a sort of afternoon out, and they get caught, and it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. Thumbs up. There's I think there's been like 2 weeks so far that I haven't loved of the however long it's been out.
Were they both the Bernard issues, or was it
They were both the Bernard issues.
Yeah, okay. Fair
Those
enough.
are the only issues that I have not read and have no interest in reading. I mean, I still don't know why they even put it in there.
I
do.
I'm kind of sad because the first season is coming to an end. I'm almost positive we're going to do more because this series has been ridiculously popular. But there's only a couple more episodes left before it ends, and so I just wanted to give it a plug on the podcast, and it's really sweet. It's often very clever, and if you are the thing is, like, if you're a fan of any of the characters, almost all of them get little arcs, so you'll get a little story just focused on your favorite, and it's great. And lastly, Robin number 16.
Thumbs up. I did love the scene with Hawk where they're staring at dead men. They're like, is it a trap? Oh yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap. Like we had discussed last time. So that was pretty fun. I don't quite get why What's-Her-Butt has a new outfit.
What's a butt?
Flatline.
Flatline?
Yeah, she seemed...
Oh, remember, she's taken over. Supposedly, she's taken over the game. So she's kind of the...
Yes, but why is she, like, following... What was it, Talia?
Nope.
No, is it Talia?
Yep, Dahlia. She says, I'm a fan of your mom.
Yeah, that's creepy. A little... Whatever the word is... Ophiolitic? Anyway.
I think that's Electra Complex, but I'm not sure.
I forget which one it is.
Okay,
but...
so if none of you going to say it, I'm going to say it. If anyone has an issue with Lord Deathman and...
Oh, yeah, no, I blocked that from my memory. I blocked it. I have a therapy session on Thursday. I might talk to my therapist about it.
when you could plant your lips and slip your tongue down a skull and... I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, Grandma Talia Ghul. What's her name?
Grandma Soul.
Grandma Soul, whatever, is smacking out with Lord Deathman.
That was
so icky.
So gross.
So awful.
But hilarious.
Yeah, so hilarious. It was awesome.
Like,
Thumbs up.
all of DC Twitter is just laughing about it. They think it's hilarious.
Again, the one book we do not want Joshua Williamson to leave.
He's leaving.
And he's leaving it
so sad.
For Mark Waid. And I'm upset.
Yeah, this book also gets a thumbs up for me. It is a little lower stakes than I'd hoped for the final arc, but it's just fun. Come on. And that wraps up Greater Gotham.
Sorry to interrupt, Master Bruce. Ringing your phone now.
This needs my attention.
So we have one lengthy piece of listener feedback.
We do. Dear TBU podcast crew, that's us, that's you and me. Thank you for another lovely episode. While I enjoyed Steph and Theo's takeover of the podcast episode before, it was nice to have the Holy Trinity back in full attendance. Woo. I want to thank Theo for his affection for Cassandra Cain. I never had a chance to read her Batgirl run in the early 2000s. Having triplets and finishing my doctorate kept me busy, as it should. Bet. But his comments over the past year encouraged me to go back on DC Infinite Universe and start from issue number 1 throughout the run. There were consistently good stories and art, especially the early issues by Puckett and Scott. If only the new Batgirl series could live up to the Cassandra Stephanie story in Batgirl issue number 53. That tale captured the essence of their friendship. A few podcasts ago, there was a debate on where Williamson's run compares to the previous authors on the Batman title. While I agree with Theo that Dixon and Nolan were always near the top fondest for my younger days, I had mixed feelings about King's Run. After Ian's continued praise for those issues, I decided to sit and read it once again. While it did help to read it straight through without delay, I am still indecisive about the work. There were so many great things done to Bruce on an emotional level. However, there were so many inconsistencies, never followed through storylines, and off-panel storytelling that prevents me from saying it was great. I will do the same thing with Batman and Catwoman now that the 12 issues are complete. My life is very busy, so I read comics for relaxation. I don't want to have to get a decoder ring to figure out what is happening. I am thankful for Ian's comments on how to understand the story. Where does Zdarsky's first issue rank compared to others? I would place it right before JT's first issue, mainly because his was such a breath of fresh air from the emotional roller coaster that King took us through. I am glad Zdarsky is on the book. The Batman book should have the best writers and artists, period. The last half year, I quit buying Batman in favor of the sidekick books, Robin and Nightwing, because they excelled in both. My new favorite is Beyond Flashpoint because I'm hoping that Thomas Wayne will be redeemed from what King did during City of Bane. Steph's words encouraged me to read Batman, The Night, which is phenomenal. Yes, it is. Thank you for that recommendation. I have also picked up World's Finest because of Dan Mora. Yeah, you should. That was my commentary. My time and money are valuable commodities, so I'm only going to read books that tell a good story with great art. Your podcast guided me in the right direction. Thank you for all your work on the podcast. Your thoughtful reviews and playful banter keep my mind entertained during my morning runs and mundane moments of life. Sincerely, Dr. K. As in the letter K.
Well, that is one of the nicest comments we've had. Very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you sharing those thoughts on the runs. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons we do the podcast is so that people can, and especially Greater Gotham, so we can provide a take and especially multiple perspectives on books so people can sort of figure out where they might fall and make choices on what they might want to buy.
I am so happy that I was able to convince somebody to read the Cassandra Cain run.
Yeah, and I'm also really glad that DC Universe Infinite gives people that chance because, like, a lot of these things are out of print, so the ability to just sit down and blaze through a bunch of those classic comics like Cass and Steph's runs on Batgirl and No Man's Land and Nightfall, like those things can be hard to get, and if you just pay your subscription fee, you can just read through them. It's great.
And I don't read it as much as I used to when it first came out, back when it was originally just, DC Universe. And, even now it's still worth the cost, the annual cost. Because I can always, if I see a story or hear something, about something that I haven't read yet, I just go and pull it out, right before, they released the new line of Milestone, I use DC Universe Infinite to just catch up on all of that stuff just so that I can get myself prepared for the new series. And again, it's well worth the price.
We missed something in the news. Speaking of my personal recommendations, the final issue of Future State Gotham is coming out in October. We'll never have Future State again.
This is cause for celebration and joy. I'm so pleased that I'm not going to have to review this garbage fire of a title after October.
Oh, Dr. K, you have to read Future State Gotham.
You really don't.
It's so good.
You really don't. Do not listen to Steph on this one. You do need.
That's when you can definitely wait for futures for it to hit DC Universe Infinite. You could wait for that.
Or not.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our podcast. So I'm going to read our supporters. This is the Patreons who support us at a certain level. We appreciate all your support, and we're going to start with Lisa Slack, Ian Miller, Gerald Green, Joshua Lappin Bertoni, Rob O, Tim Garassi, Robert Lewis, Stephanie Mouse, Donovan Morgan Grant, Stanton's Grave, Donald Townsend, Ed Grouse, Captain America, Mary Garrett, Austin Davis, Johnny McCloskey, Cesar Diaz, Jessica Morales, and David Richards. Thank you all for contributing. We really appreciate that you help us to keep our backlog of podcast episodes up and all our views, all our archives. So they're a resource for people who might, be starting Batman and they want to find out what people thought back in 2010 or 2015 or 2018. 2018 is when Steph and I started, so it's an important year. But thank you for contributing. Thank you for supporting. And most of all, I want to thank everyone for listening. So that brings us to the end. I've been your host, Ian.
This is Steph.
And this is Theo.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.